in Yahoo Finance's Julie LaRoche sat down last night with Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff. Julia, tell us a bit about that conversation.
Well, that's right, Miles. And as you were referencing earlier, just the excitement coming from Benioff on that earnings call around the deal, $27.7 billion for Slack, the largest acquisition in Salesforce's history. And if you go back to the second quarter on that earnings call, even Marc Benioff himself said that he didn't think it was a good M&A environment, but obviously his mind was changed. I'm going to take you inside to hear that story. Take a listen.
Well, you're right, Julia. This is one of the most exciting stories I've ever heard. And this story is a story of two companies coming together, and it's a 1 + 1 = 3 equation. This is Salesforce and Slack. It's really a marriage made in heaven. And I'll tell you, we've had for a long time a vision in our company called the social enterprise, where we saw a tremendous social interface on top of our products would make our users much more productive and work from anywhere and on their phones and on their iPads and on their desktops. And that's exactly what I saw. Brett Taylor, our Chief Operating Officer, and Stuart Butterfield, the CEO of Slack, brought me this tremendous vision of our two companies coming together with this technology. And wow, the demonstration is incredible. And what I saw, I think, is going to just truly excite our customers, and they're going to have the ability to have a next generation capability for their companies.
All right, well, let's kind of double click on that because, Mark, when you and I have talked, we often talked about customer 360, the single source of truth. And when I hear you talk about this in particular, it sounds like that only amplifies it. Walk us through what that looks like.
Well, you just saw we had a phenomenal quarter, another phenomenal quarter. And, you know, our business has really accelerated during this pandemic because customers, they've needed to double down on their tools to sell, to service, to market, to do analytics, to build applications, to do integrations. And so many of our core customers, whether it was AT&T or we just announced an incredible transaction with American Family Insurance, or even organizations who are fighting the pandemic, like the state of Victoria and Australia. Well, in every case, they're using our platform to build a customer 360 so they really can understand their customers and to give their employees the ability to be a lot more productive. Well, this is icing on the cake. This is really the ability to take what we've built, you layer in the Slack technology, we become more collaborative, we become more productive, we're more mobile, we're more work from anywhere, you can automate any workflow. This is very cool and very different than anything I've ever seen. It's kind of a dream that I've always had that we would have this type of a user interface. And now with Salesforce and Slack coming together, we do.
Mm-hmm. You called it the central nervous system of so many companies. You know, I was using Slack to set up this interview. I know you use the platform as well. I am curious, right. What kind of customer overlap do you have with Slack, and how does that help you integrate this faster?
You are right. 90% of Slack customers are already Salesforce customers, but now we have the ability to go so much deeper with all of them because this idea that, look, I'm on Slack as well, and I'm on Salesforce, and I'm on Zoom, and that's my new work environment, and now I can bring it together in a smart way, and we can kind of tweak and tune and integrate, and all of a sudden you have this tremendous next generation desktop environment for managing all of your business. And it doesn't matter what size business you are. You could be a small business, you could be medium, you could be a large business. This is going to work for you. And look, I think about all these customers who have transformed their sales organizations with Salesforce over the last few months because they need to be able to sell B2B, for example, so much more aggressively. And you can sell in at any level and sell into the CEO. Well, with Slack, you can collaborate as well. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mark, I do want to ask about some competition out there. Of course, there's a lot of speculation about the threat that Microsoft Teams poses to Slack. How does the tie-up here with Salesforce and Slack kind of change the competitive landscape from your viewpoint?
Well, we're really singularly focused on our vision to build the next generation enterprise. And that's probably why we're the fastest growing enterprise software company I think ever. You know, we're going to do $21.1 billion in revenue this year. Next year, we just gave guidance that we're going to do at least $25.5 billion in revenue. I mean, there's never been an enterprise software company growing at that speed. That's because of our unique vision. And part of that is, yes, our organic innovation, also our inorganic innovation, our ability to bring different pieces and different companies into what we do. And this is no exception. When you bring Salesforce and Slack together, you're going to get an overall acceleration of both organizations.
You just mentioned the growth that Salesforce has done. 5.42 billion this quarter. That's a second consecutive quarter north of 5 billion. You all raised your guidance. You put out some fresh guidance for fiscal 2022. How do you think about growth going forward and the opportunities? And you mentioned even on the call, kind of having this swagger to do deals in this environment. Would love to kind of go inside that playbook with you.
Well, I really appreciate the question because you're right. I mean, you look at our sequential quarterly growth. That is, we did 5.15 billion last quarter, and then we're doing 0.42 billion is the quarter we just delivered, and then we're going into a quarter where we're going to deliver 5.67 billion. The sequential growth is extraordinary, and that gives us the ability, because we're strong right now. We're hitting record revenues, record profit, record margins, record cash flows. That we have the ability to do something like this. This is when you're strong, you want to do things like this. You want to kind of take your company or organization to another level. That's the opportunity. And we're going to take that opportunity. We had no idea this was going to come along. All of a sudden, it's like, this was possible. We have to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly no idea that was going to come along, but yet you're someone who does like the product. So are you going to call up your CEO friends and say, hey, you have to be using this? How do you kind of bring on, I can tell you this, I taught a college class and I taught my class solely on Slack. I had 11 students this semester. So how do you kind of spread, I guess, get more folks in the Slack ecosystem? How are you going to do that, Marc?
You just said it. I'm going to call my friends, and I also have a lot of salespeople at Salesforce, thousands and thousands of them, over 10,000 of them, and we're going to get them to call their friends as well.
Okay, and what's going to be the moonshot for you then when it comes to Slack?
Well, I mean, we're going to deliver over 25.5 billion next year in revenue, and I've always had this $50 billion dream for Salesforce. So let's see us go there.
Okay.
How I personally look at the company, and I just have a huge dream around that.
Yeah, I remember when you were studying the goals just to get to 10 billion, and I'm hearing you 50 billion is the next milestone for you, Marc Benioff. I do want to ask, because I know a lot of folks are asking you what the future of work looks like. You did hint at that in the announcement here. What is the future of work, and how long do you think that future persists, especially as someone who does have a large physical presence in San Francisco, big office presence, if you will?
Well, we all know the past is gone and it's not coming back. And right now we're still in this pandemic where there's a light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccines. We're all want to get vaccinated and get back to work. But when we do go back to work, it's going to be different. And we've learned a lot, how to be more productive, how to spend less, honestly, how to maybe do a little less travel, how to have a little less real estate, how to put all these things together, new collaborative interfaces like Slack, all new types of tools like Zoom. How do we put all of these things together in a smart way to create the next generation of business? The next generation of business, Julia, that is a huge, exciting question. What does the next generation of business look like? You've been talking about that on your show. I've been thinking about that too. And then when you see combinations like Salesforce and Slack, that's when you say, wow, yes, this can be the next generation of business, because these ecosystems, these industries, they start to appear, they transform, and then provide it vertically, provide it horizontally, provide it, for a unique industry like healthcare or financial services. Wow, it's really a moment where everyone can be more productive. Everyone's going to be working from anywhere. We're going to have a new world. Even when we're vaccinated and we're all, quote unquote, back to work, we're going to be in a new world. And this is very much evidence of that.
Well, you heard it there, you all. Certainly a bet on what the future of work looks like. Obviously, a lot more collaborative, talking about more productivity, and also that $50 billion revenue goal. That is Marc Benioff's dream, as he just laid out there. Miles?
All right, Julie LaRoche, very great interview with Salesforce, Marc Benioff. 12-month trailing revenue at Salesforce, $20 billion. So what's that, 150% to go until they get to that goal. Julia, thanks for joining.